Okay.
So now when it falls around to you to the small blind, what have I taught you to do?
Well, we chop, but in 2-5. But I think if you're gonna say I can't chop here, it's usually better to be raising or folding. I
Yeah,
would
so
think
just
not
take the top 60% of your range and fire away at 3x, and just assume that your opponent is not Poker Snowy, he's not playing perfectly, and you're going to punish him.
Okay, so I just make it $3 here.
Yep. And the dollar amount is the number of big blinds that you're playing. Now
Okay.
9-8 off here, you're folding, and
Okay.
that's part of the reason why Snowy uses a limp call, limp fold, limp raise strategy, because like the big blind has a ton of incentive to three bet. The great part about your live opponents is that none of them are actually doing that.
Yeah.
Now 8 deuce off is obviously just a fold.
Okay, this is an open, and are you like potting it like 350, or are you doing min raises against Snowy, or what? Because I know he's gonna fold. You said in one of your videos you like to, if you want it to go post flop, so you get more practice post flop, you have to make it smaller.
Yeah, so if you min raise, the defense range that Snowy uses out of the big blind looks a lot more like the defense range that a live opponent would use versus a bigger sizing, because they're undisciplined.
Yeah.
And they don't understand the profitability generator. So I would recommend min raising.
So $2.
Yeah, and because if you fire away at pot size bets, like Snowy gets super snug and value based, like it should, and that's not what we're really trying to practice against. Okay, sure. So now here, when Snowy checks to you, what are you thinking?
Okay, so a lot of this is heavily dependent on my opponents, my live opponents. But when I see a flop like this, it's one part of my mind is saying, well, you have two overcards, you have equity to barrel with. He's unlikely to have much on a paired board. But if he has anything, he knows it. I a lot of times just have ace high or something, so they can get sticky also. So there's different things running through my mind. Sometimes I'm thinking I'm going to bet and he'll fold a lot, or I have equity to barrel. Other times I'm thinking I have showdown value, actually. And a lot of these guys are perfectly happy letting you get to showdown with ace high or king high. Now, I'm much more likely to try to show it down if I have ace high than king high. But by default, I would probably be betting this against.
So you're on the right path, and I had the exact same thought process until about 12 months ago. Okay. So think about this flop in terms of range advantages.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me who has a range advantage on this board.
And that's something I know you always ask, and I'm definitely this is one of the weakest parts of my game right now, is thinking of what would I do with my whole range here? What would he do with this whole range here? So I'm really glad we're getting into it, but I'm gonna sound kind of stupid with this stuff. So, but
well, let me ask you this: so, what percentage of hands should you be opening from the cutoff right now?
I should be opening, and optimally it should be like 23%.
What percentage of hands should the big blind be defending with versus a min raise?
Ooh, I actually don't know.
Okay, right now Snowy is defending with over 50% of its range, because you're giving it 3.5 to 1. You're min raising, and there's no rake. Okay, so your range is significantly tighter and more value based than Snowy's range. Okay, mm-hmm. You have way more pairs in your range. You also have ace deuce suited, king deuce suited, fives full. So you have a massive range advantage here, and like I don't know the exact percentage, but I would say over 80% of Snowy's range is just complete error right here.
He's not going to have a lot of fives or deuces, certainly.
No. So what I used to do here is bet half pot with like 70 or 80% of my range, and then just check back certain hands that had showdown value. And that's fine. That's a decent way to do it. But since I've been spending a lot more time in Snowy and GTorb and PO Solver and all this advanced software, I've realized that you have such a massive range advantage here, especially being in position, that the best route to go is to bet about a third of the pot, or sometimes even less than that, with your whole range here.
Okay.
And the reason for that is very simple. If you know that the vast majority of Snowy's range is overcards. Okay, so let's say that you know that he has 6 outs right now to beat you. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
if he saw the turn and the river and your cards didn't match, he would have about 24% equity against you. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so people think like, okay, I need to bet half the pot here to deny him that equity. But actually, if you bet smaller and then you follow up on the turn a lot of the time, you're denying him. Um,
The single card equity.
right, you're denying him half
Yeah.
of his equity that
Yeah.
that he's getting by calling your flop bet. Okay.
And then you make more money, really, because of the
Yeah.
flop.
So really, what you need to think of it as like if he has 2 cards right here that are both live, he has more like 12% equity to hit on the turn, and then another 12% on the river. Okay.
Okay.
So by betting, Snowy actually bets a quarter of the pot here. I would bet a little bit bigger so your opponent doesn't float with everything. I
Yeah.
would bet like a third of the pot, but at that point you're offering your opponent 4-1. He needs 20% equity. He thinks he's getting it, but he's not. He actually only has 12% equity, and some of the time you're dominating his cards.
Cool.
So
you
it's
would bet like
awesome.
$1.50.
Yeah, it puts him in such a tough spot here. There's really nothing he can do. Your positional advantage really overwhelms his whole range here. Now you follow through again.
And how much? How do you know what to bet on the turn? And obviously,
Now
it depends
now
on
you're
the turn.
betting closer to half.
Okay. So, but as a default in these situations, even against horrible live players and stuff, like a third pot, then half pot, generally, no matter what the turn card is.
Yeah, the turn card almost doesn't matter because what you're almost trying to induce your opponent to defend too wide on the flop, and then you hammer him on the turn.
Okay.
So, and then on select rivers, you're going to keep barreling. This is not one of the rivers.
Okay.
Okay.
And on the rivers would be like what, any like 9 or 10 or higher or something, or
No, I mean just not this run out.
oh, I see. Oh, because it's
Yeah, but on all these paired boards, these super dry paired boards like this, you're betting either a quarter pot against Snowy, probably a third of the pot against your live opponents, and then following up the vast majority of the time with a half pot bet on the turn. Then if the run out really benefits you, you can pot, you can overbet, you can do all kinds of stuff. This is not one of those boards. So
I guess I'm not sure how to know when the run out does benefit me or not.
like if there is a flush draw here and a flush came in, a front door flush, or like if a 4 straight ran out and he checks to you on the river, it's another spot where you're just going to punish him. Here, I think he's really ace X heavy. He's got some deuces, some 4X, some hearts in his range. It's just not a great spot for you to be firing.
Okay, check it back.
So yeah, he had one of the rare pairs in his range there.
Yeah.
What are you thinking here with Queen 3?
I'm sorry, say it again. What do I do here?
What do you think?
What
do you think about Queen 3?
Fold it, right?
Yeah, for the most part, I'd be folding that.
Keep in mind, like most people will chop, but it's still good to practice these situations because some don't.
Well, I mean, this will give you a huge edge in tournaments. It'll give you a huge edge playing shorthanded.
Definitely. Oh yeah,
So,
and it does happen sometimes where we get down to 5 or 6 people and we agree to not chop or something. So, okay, I just fold this. Okay, so min raise it, right?
Yeah, min raise is the best way to go right now.
You're right. They do defend more because they're just constantly folding before. Okay, so the first thing I ask myself is about range advantage again. Is that what you said?
Yep.
I think definitely me because this is like a super dry King 8-5 rainbow is almost the definition of a dry flop, and I should have a lot more kings in my range. I mean, I still have aces, kings, ace, king, king, queen, king, jack, king 10. King 9, and I have all the suited kings. I still have an overcard. I have backdoor straight draw.
What does Snowy not have right now?
He doesn't have ace king.
Or aces or kings.
Yeah, exactly.
And a lot of times it's 3-betting with eights too, so it might not even have middle set either. So you have a huge range advantage here. And Ace Queen is an awesome hand to be c-betting with for a couple reasons. The first one is on boards like this, it's really important to have an ace because that's the only overcard that you could have. And if you were firing away here with like Jack 10, if your opponent had a king, like he'd really just be denying all of your equity. So having an ace in your hand on boards like this is huge. The other thing is blocking out King X combos is huge. So you're blocking out 25% of Snowy's King Queen combos because you have a queen in your hand. Okay, so
very cool.
And the other thing is you have some backdoor straight potential. So if a jacket or a 10 comes off on the turn, you need to keep firing. So yeah, go ahead and bet. And on this board, it's a little bit more important to go about half pot instead.
I was gonna say I'm usually betting about half pot because if I'm value betting, I can't. It's not a board I can bet big on. I wouldn't think because I can't expect him to call me very often. So I'm just thinking I'm kind of balancing.
No, so if you were value betting, you would want to be offering your opponent 3-1, so he's forced to defend with every 8, every 5, and every ace high.
Right.
So if you want the size that benefits your whole range, it's half pot.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. But sometimes I'm not sure like how necessary like balance and everything is against live players. But I you never know. Some people are better than you give them credit for. And
well, no, it's not that. It's that I'm teaching you a robust strategy that will work at every level. You could play 1-2 or you could play 25-50. The strategy will still work. And if you see that your opponent is making some kind of massive errors or he has major inconsistencies in his game, then you already know what to do. Just do that. But I'm teaching you a robust strategy so that you don't need to have a ton of sick reads on your opponents to continuously generate EV against them.
Yeah, no, I love it. I was just saying, like, if you were in 2-5 and you had ace king here, like, would you?
I'm still betting half pot without info,
Right. If you would have to know the guy, you've seen the guy is just like super sticky. He calls with every 5 and everything inelastic.
Well, then go 3/4 or even pot, and
yeah, cool.
But you know the guys to do that against, right? And I don't need to tell you when to switch it up.
No, I just didn't know if it was a mistake. Like, okay, so you're saying do it against those guys, but you don't have to worry about being unbalanced because then when you're against the good player, you go back to half pot.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. It's okay to do different things with different people. Okay, cool.
There you go. So I mean, and again, like we're I'm giving you a ton of commentary there, but it's so important to consider your whole range, all of Snowy's range, and what your plan is on the turn and river. You can't just throw out a c-bet blindly anymore. Like poker's gotten tougher. So
yeah, agreed. Okay, so Queen Jack offsuit is an open from the cutoff, so we're gonna min raise that, right?
Always.
Okay, so this is usually I'm betting, but I'm also when I have like not a great kicker, sometimes I do check it back.
No, I mean you have like Queen 9 suited and Queen 8 suited here. You can check back Queen 9, but
okay.
Queen Jack that's a value bet because Snowy has to check call with Queen 10, Queen 9, every 8x, every deuce, a lot of ace highs.
And because there's draws out here. Like,
and also like he has
9,
to
10,
either
diamonds.
check call or check raise with like Jack 10, 10, 9, and Jack 9, especially if he has backdoor clubs. So you need to just be betting for value here.
Okay, now like as a default, like the more drawy a board is, the more wet a board is, I would tend to bluff or value bet a larger sizing. And the more dry it was, I would tend to be more closer to half pot. Now, I don't know if I should be doing that. So, but I'm just saying here, I would more commonly bet like 2/3 pot.
All you need to ask yourself is like by value betting half the pot, am I denying my opponent the equity he needs to continue with a hand like Jack 10? Yes or no?
Yes.
So bet half the pot.
Okay, and you don't need to bet more to try to get more value.
No, you can accomplish more with less here.
Okay. Yeah, that's something I don't quite fully understand yet, but I sort of do. But
It's just about betting an amount that is denying your opponent the equity that he needs to continue without him realizing it. So there,
sort of
like half pot is definitely denying him the equity. Like betting 2/3 pot is actually like it's a little bit wasteful. It's like the government spending too much of our tax dollars.
Okay, so it's like it's just like online or min raising the button. They're trying to induce the big blind to call out of position.
You're trying to induce the big blind to over defend. Same thing on the flop. You're trying to induce him to over defend, and then you're just following up with bombs on the river, and there's nothing they can do about it.
Okay, cool. So this is a fold.
Yeah, and so like one of the habits I have to break you of is trying to end the hand early. That's not what you're trying to do. You want your opponents to over defend, like that's perfect, and then you're hammering them on the river.
Yeah, I wanted him to call. I'm just saying, can you go for more value than half pot? Is what I was saying.
Not there. No.
Okay.
So,
I just didn't know, like, if they have a flush draw, they'll call more than half pot, or if they have, whatever. But it's hard to have a flush draw that often, I guess, anyway. So you can't just say if they have a flush draw just because there's 2 diamonds out there.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is gonna be a raise, right?
Oh yeah, always.
But did you say to 3x it now, or you still want to min raise it?
No. We need to 3x here because you're even 3xing. You're still giving Snowy 2-1 in position, and he can close the action. So Snowy's literally defending with about 85% of its range here.
Oh wow. Okay. So So I have like very superficial like thoughts here. It's not really deep or anything. My first thing is just like, I have a backdoor straight draw, so I should be a little bit more inclined to bet than if I had complete nothing. But also, I don't have much on this board.
Yeah, this isn't the best hand to be barreling with. Against a tough opponent or a competent opponent, I would consider giving up here. You mostly want to be barreling with backdoor hearts, spades, and clubs, especially if they have backdoor straight draws to go with them.
Okay, so queen 10 of clubs would be a c-bet, but probably not this.
I mean, against a weak opponent, just c-bet and take it down, but against someone like Snowy, you really cannot be barreling with a hand like that.
Okay, if you're in a live 2-5 situation, you would bet, though.
I would bet half, yeah.
Okay, so your c-betting percentage is really high, even with against live people.
In heads up pots it is because they're just folding way too much. Like, I mean, guys are just very comfortably folding like a deuce or a 3, like deuces or 3s here. They're folding like Jack 10 of spades here. Snowy's not folding any of that. It's continuing super wide here.
Okay, cool. So just check
yeah,
and give up this
just check, surrender. Same thing here. You don't need to do anything fancy.
Just fold, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I see this thing where these like live 2-5 guys now, and Maryland, I don't know what it is. They just love to like flat 3-bets with kings and aces and stuff.
Yeah, it's because they're never getting any action when they 4-bet because they only 4-bet with aces and kings. Yep. If they polarized their 4-betting ranges, they would actually get action, right? So
I don't do that. I'm just laughing because it reminded me of it. So I'm always 4-betting.
No, because it's like that's one of the adaptations or one of the iterations that poker players go through, right? They go, okay, I'm never getting action, therefore I'm going to fly with these hands so I can get some action at least. When actually what they should be doing is polarizing a lot more when they 4-bet like me, and like here I'm getting my 4-bet's getting called by 10s every single time here.
And what's funny is like then they'll win like a big pot at the end, and somebody will be like, "Oh, nice hand, good trap or something." I'm like, the guy's not freaking trapping. He thinks he is maybe, but he's doing it because of the reasons you said. He's actually making a mistake by doing it. He's not doing some like great trapping play or something, But it's funny, people are just so clueless.
So 4-bet for value, but don't go huge here. So you want to go up to like 1450.
Okay. Now, that will be my next question in a second, so hold that thought. But let's just finish the hand first. 1450, right? 1450.
Yeah.
Okay, he does call, and
so now this is the same as that 5 deuce deuce board. You need to bet like a quarter pot here.
Oh, cool! I'm learning something here. So, now my first thought was if someone 3-bets and calls, they'll have a lot of like, jacks, 10s, and 9s and stuff like that.
But what do we know about combinatorics?
Well, there's a lot more combination of offsuit hands than pairs.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
we need to deny him his equity. So like imagine the times we 4-bet with queens here. We want to deny ace king its equity, or a hand like ace jack suited its equity, but we don't want him to realize that we're denying that equity. So we could bet like a quarter of the pot here, and then we still have plenty of room to get the stacks in by the river. Do you see how that works? Think about pot geometry here. What's the stack to pot ratio right now?
Okay, so
take your stack and divide it by the pot.
I'm just this is why I need to read the mental math book to get faster, but just hold on, bear with me a second. So it's 2 point something to 1.
Yeah, it's about 3 to 1.
Yeah, it's close.
So stack to pot ratio is about 3, meaning that like when the SPR is 3, if you bet half the pot now, and your opponent called, the pot would be $60, and you would have an awkward stack size. You would have $70 left, right?
Okay.
So what you want to do is either bet bigger and shove the turn, or bet really small and then play a 3-street game. And you're almost always better off playing a 3-street game. So that's why you're betting a quarter of the pot.
I didn't know that. I've been playing the 2-street game quite often, especially like at best bet, because the stacks are so short.
But when you're the best player in the conflict, you have a huge incentive to play more streets in the hand.
Okay.
Because every street you add, every level of complexity that you add benefits you.
Sweet. I like it. Okay. Here's my quarter pot bet. He calls. Now he just donks 11. So he donks a quarter pot bet.
Yes. So
very interesting.
Snowy's so sick.
I have no idea why he would do that.
No, Snowy's sick because Snowy has learned that because you're betting a quarter of the pot with your whole range, what it can do is lead a quarter pot on the turn and deny you the equity you would need to continue with the hand like ace king.
Okay.
So it's like constantly trying to, like both sides, you're just trying to deny each other the right equity. So even though it's offering you 5 to 1, you wouldn't be getting the right price to call with ace king a lot of the time.
Mm.
So, and then the other thing you need to consider is like if you call, what will the pot be? It'll be $66, right? And you'll have $68 left, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And the other thing to consider is that like if an ace, a 4, a 6, a 7, or a diamond comes off, it's going to be hard to get action.
Okay.
So one of the things I would do, especially against a live opponent, is shove here and make it look like I have like ace X of diamonds or like 6, 7 suited.
Okay.
And I'm just going crazy. And I balance that out with like kings. And the thing about Snowy is that you very rarely have to worry about running into a better hand here. Like it might have a set of 8s, but rarely. I don't think so.
Okay. So let's step back a second and pretend that we were check 2 instead of the donk bet. Would you have bet like $20?
I would have bet 22, and then that would have left the if he calls, the river is 88. There's $88 in the pot at that point, and you have 58 left. So it's like a 3/4 pot river shove.
Okay, cool. You know, it'd be funny. It would, because you don't see this that often, where the live player bets the quarter pot on the turn. It would be funny if you could like set this to like play worse on the flop, like play like the flop, so you get like perfect practice against. I know this is better because you're you're practicing robust strategies, but you're like, oh, this wouldn't happen in my game, so I'm practicing responding against things that don't happen. But no, it's cool. I'd rather it play well.
No, but look at it from the opposite perspective too. Like, imagine you have Ace King here. Like, how frustrating would that be if somebody let out for a quarter pot here? Like, that'd be really annoying, wouldn't it? I mean,
it was.
You wouldn't want to play against that guy. So.
Okay, so just shove.
I'm a big fan of shoving here.
Yeah, and we get the value from 10, son, because we 4-bet a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and it's just you'll take lines like that and you just look like a maniac, like you look so maniacal, but then you get paid.